When an 8-year-old boy was playing in a village in Japan, he saw a machine running on 4 wheels. It was a Ford Model T. The boy was very surprised to see it. This was the day when the 8-year-old boy was very fond of cars and mechanical parts. His name was Soichiro Honda, and who knew that in the near future, we would see his name in every small and big car. It is a story of 1906, when in a small village near the city of Mount Fuji in Japan, Soichiro Honda was born in this small village. Soichiro Honda's father worked as a blacksmith and also did cycle repairing part-time. Honda's 5 brothers died of various diseases. That's why his parents had high hopes from Honda. But he was not interested in studies at all. However, Honda was more interested in repairing the cycle with his father. When he reached the age of 16, he saw an ad in the newspaper, Art Shukai Tokyo Automobiles needed a mechanic. Honda wrote a letter to the company, and fortunately, a positive reply came from there. This was the time when Honda left his home and school and went to Tokyo, hoping to make money. Honda's dream broken when he reached Art Shukai service station. When the owner of the company put Honda on a clean slate, what could Honda do? He had left his parents. On the other hand, he was being used for useless purposes. This was the reason why he was forced to do this odd job for several months. A few months later, the owner of the Art Shukai started hiring a mechanic from Honda. Honda was very interested in this job from the beginning. That's why he could understand things easily. He knew a lot about every car and its different parts. During this time, Honda also made 2 sports cars. The first car was Art Daimler and the second was Curtiss. These 2 cars were made by combining a used engine, who won the first position in the Japanese Motor Car Championship 1924. Honda was a good mechanic until now, but he was sitting with the driver as an engineer in this race. This was the event after which Soichiro Honda converted the motor car into his religion. For the next few years, he worked in the Art Shukai and increased his experience. In 1928, at the age of 22, his owner opened his new branch. This branch was built in the city of Hamamatsu, to which the owner gave the responsibility to Honda. He started this new branch with 1 worker, and in just 2 years, he had 30 workers. He had now become a brilliant mechanic and racing driver. He made a sports car for his owner using his skills. This car could run at a speed of 120 kilometers per hour, which broke all old records. This record remained the highest record in Japan for the next 20 years. Honda's importance in the heart of his owner had increased. He wanted to open his own workshop. But maybe fate didn't allow it. In 1936, during a race, Honda had an accident. In this accident, he didn't lost his life, but his left arm was fractured. His shoulder was dislocated. And there were many wounds on his face. He saw his life ending here. He could neither work as a mechanic, nor participate in racing. After a few months, when he recovered, he requested the owner of Art Shukai that he could no longer repair his car. In fact, he presented an idea to his boss that why not make spare parts. Start a new company. 8 stakeholders immediately rejected this idea. They were already making profits. No one wanted to take a new risk. On this, Honda decided he will open this company alone. In 1936, at the age of 30, he and his friend started Tokai Seiki Heavy Industry. And he made his friend Soichiro Kato make president. He had already started the company, but Honda didn't have the money to run it. He worked all day for Art Shukai. And at night, he used to make engines and pistons for his new company. He followed this routine for several months. But he did not achieve any success. And he was getting weaker by constantly shifting. One failure after another was blocking his way. That's when he took admission in a university to gain expertise in metallurgy. After working hard for 3 years in 1939, he finally succeeded in making a piston. Now he left his job at the Art Shukai and started making pistons full-time. But he did not even know that his piston still had some faults. He offered his piston to the Toyota company. Toyota rejected 47 out of 50 designs. This news fell on Honda, because now there was no way back for him. He started touring all over Japan to understand the requirements of different companies. He went to different factories and met car manufacturers. He spent the next few years trying to understand the market. And after that, Honda made a piston once again. This piston had passed the quality test of all the companies, and Soichiro Honda started getting orders. His company hired 2,000 people to complete the orders. He saw his dreams coming true. But his dream didn't last long. When Japan fell into World War II in 1941, the ministry took over the entire industry. One of the companies was Soichiro Honda. Was appointed as a senior manager in his own company, and things went bad when all the workers of the company were put into military service. And in 1941, an incident occurred, which ruined all the hopes of Soichiro Honda. During the air raid, a missile hit a factory of Honda. The situation in the country was getting worse. Japan seemed to be losing the war. Then, in 1945, 2 nuclear attacks occurred, which broke Japan's back. After this incident, Japan surrendered to the Americans. The war was over, but Honda had lost everything. He sold some of his assets to Toyota and once again went bankrupt. This was not only the case with Honda, but the whole of Japan was going through a crisis. The economy was melting and there was a severe shortage of food. And inflation had broken everyone's back. It was extremely difficult to get public transport. Petrol was also scarce in Japan. During this time, Honda got a small Japanese army engine. With this, they used to run wireless radios. Forced by his habit, he got an idea. Why not put this engine in a cycle and solve the problem of our transport? This will make transport easier and cheaper. Because in that era, people were already very upset with inflation. When he saw this engine running on a cycle, everyone liked the idea. Honda got a few used engines. But people's demand was so high that Honda designed its own new engine. This was the first time in history that a Honda logo was seen on a machine. Honda did not have enough money to build this cycle at the mass level. Therefore, he wrote an open letter to 18,000 shopkeepers. People trusted Honda so much that 3,000 shopkeepers gave him a positive review and gave the money in advance. In the next 3 years, Honda built a motorcycle that was in line with the market requirements. It was launched under the name of Super Cub, which made a ruckus in the market as soon as it arrived. This model was so successful that it left behind the sale of the American Triumph Harley-Davidson. Honda had a passion for racing, so he started making sports bikes. He used to go to different bike races and noted the special features of the winning bike. At that time, such sport competitions were more of a marketing campaign for the manufacturing company than a race. In a few years, Honda's first sports bike was launched, which took part in the 1962 International Racing Competition and take first position. Honda Company had sold 1 crore units by 1968. After spending 62 years of his life, Soichiro Honda had achieved success, but the dreams he had since his childhood had not yet been fulfilled. He wanted to go to Honda car manufacturing. Many people refused to do so, but he did not listen to anyone. At that time, a car manufacturing company Toyota and Nissan had set up their own business in Japan. It was very difficult to create a new place in the market there. Honda launched its first pickup truck, T360, which failed. After that, it launched the sport car S500, from which only 1,300 units were sold. After many years of hard work and dozens of design rejections, finally, Honda Civic was launched in 1972. This is the car whose new models are famous all over the world till date. In 1980s, Honda Motors was the third largest manufacturing company in Japan. In just 10 years, Honda became the third largest manufacturing company in the world. Today, we see the name of Honda in cars, motorcycles, boat engines, and plane engines. Soichiro Honda took retirement from the company in 1973, the year after the launch of Honda Civic. On August 5, 1991, his life journey came to an end.